One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Colors. Forward. March.
Hide. 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 Hold.
Ready doors? Ready pop? Ready open? Ready close? Ready shut? Ready face?
President Sir, President Trump, your message to Christians during this Holy Week, sir, the start of Holy Week. Do you have a message for Christians, sir, during this Holy Week, sir?
All right, so we're ready. Finally, we are on. Everything is 5 by 5. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Monday afternoon. Sorry I was a little bit late. This presser with the president of El Salvador, Nayib. Let me make sure I pronounce his name correctly. I don't want to make sure that I say every single word when I'm talking about Bukelele's name. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not good with pronunciations, but President Bukele, I believe is how you say it. In any event, I knew. In fact, I think it was Ashley who asked me. She's like, are they going to do a presser? I'm like, they usually have it, but I doubt they're going to do one today. Because I don't think that President Trump wants to submit President Bukele to this rabid media, because they may start asking about the guy who got deported, and they don't want to put him in that kind of a situation. I was wrong. President Trump let him go, and this guy ate the media. And President Trump ate the media. And poor Caitlin Collins is going to go running back to the studio screaming. You'll see it here in a second. In addition, I don't know the gentleman, but Mike Patel, I just want to say Mike Patel is, thank you very much. Before we even started the program today, Mike Patel did a $500 donation. And I'm like, wow. Wow. Thank you very, very, very much, Mike. I want to make sure I say this right up front before we go any further. And thank you very much. I mean, that's just, give it up. You know, Ashley and I were talking, and we said this week is going to be a huge week, because Thursday night when we do prayer night, I anticipate a lot of people wanting to get Bibles. I think it's going to be absolutely huge, and that will go a long way, plus some of the other people from yesterday, to making sure people have Bibles. Just to let you guys know, I did go see King of Kings yesterday. Robin and I both went, and phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I had a problem because Mark Hamill was one of the voice actors. I don't even know which one he was. I didn't look in the credits. It didn't matter. The story, well, we all know the actual story, but the story around the story and how they told this from the perspective of Charles Dickens, you know, Charles Dickens, who did Scrooge and all some of the other great works of our time, was stunning. Absolutely stunning. So I'm giving it a full 10. Take your kids. Do whatever you need to do. If you need some help, we got people like Mike who've just donated. We'll try to help some people get tickets, but go see this movie. It is amazing because you think it's a cartoon and it's directed at kids, which probably it is. But you as an adult are going to watch it and go, wow, the story that you all know, we grew up knowing it, but from this perspective, from the eyes of a kid who's learning about it for the first time, I'm like, that's pretty, and they stayed true. I told Robin, I said, as they were going through some of the dialogue and script of the story, you know the passages. They actually quote the Bible in the script, so it was phenomenal. So, you know, forget the whole thing about Mark Hamill. I was completely wrong. As many people as possible need to see this movie, and I think it's going to bring a lot of people to the Lord. I just that's all I'm going to say right now. Go see it. But then we'll talk Thursday night. So thank you, Mike Patel. Coming up, at 2:30, hopefully I can fit it all in here. At 2:30, Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports is going to be coming on, and he's got a whole lot of stuff to talk about, the tariffs and China and, everything else, to see where does President Trump stand. Is the media BSing us, or are they telling us the actual truth of what's been going on? And then tonight, okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to show you this now. It's going to be with limited interruption. There's a few times I got to come in and talk to you. Probably not till it gets to the point where they start the press conference. You know how they always do. They talk and they go back and forth and everything. It's like, okay, y'all talk. I'm not going to interrupt two presidents. Let them talk. Then when they get to the press conference, oh, is there some juicy stuff? You are absolutely going to love it. I mean, some fireworks come out. And there's one point, and when we get to it, I'll stop and ask you if you see the same thing. Or I'll tell you right now, so when we get to it. No, I'll wait. I'll wait and I'll preface it. That way you can watch it at that time, and I can remind you. In case you don't stay for the whole thing, you just come back for the press conference, I can bring it up then. So, and then tonight what I'll do, at 7 o'clock or 7:30, depending on time here, I'll let you know. I'm going to find as many reactions to this press conference as I can. I believe this thing is going to be bombastic. I think the media is going to scream about everything that happens in this press conference. I think they will be besides themselves in anger with what happens in this press conference. They won't be able to contain themselves. So, without further ado, let's listen.
Office, let's listen.
Period of time. So I knew him as a very young man. Now he's just a young man. And he's done a fantastic job. Mr. President, it's an honor to have you. Thank you. You're doing incredibly for your country. And we appreciate working with you because you want to stop crime, and so do we. And it's very, very effective. And I want to just say hello to the people of El Salvador and say they have one hell of a president.
I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but I got to interrupt for this one reason. That one reason is I need to see in the chat, make sure it sounds okay. I had to do some enhancement, but I want to make sure you guys can hear it properly. So let me know in the chat if the sound is okay.
Okay, and I mean that, and I know him well. I know him as a very young man, Marco. Even younger than you. You know, he started pretty young.
He'll always be younger.
Young at heart. But I want to thank you for the great job you're doing. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be here in the Oval Office with the President and leader of the free world. We're very happy, and we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we will do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world, that was the journalists call it, right? Murder capital of the world, into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And, you know, sometimes they say that we imprison thousands. I like to say that we actually liberated millions. So, you know, like...
It's very good. Who gave him that line? Do you think I can use that?
And in fact, Mr. President, you have 350 million people to liberate. But to liberate 350 million people, you have to imprison some. You know, that's the way it works, right? You cannot just, free the criminals and think crime's going to go down magically. You have to imprison them so you can liberate 350 million Americans that are asking for the end of crime and the end of terrorism. And it can be done. I mean, you're doing it already. And I'm sure that people have seen the change in the streets. A long way to go because you're just initiating your second term. But it's clear that, with the numbers at the border, even in Democrat-run cities, they get a help from the work you're doing. So I'm really happy to be here, honored, and eager to help.
Well, we had a terrible thing happen. We had an administration that allowed people to come in freely into our country from not only South America, but from all over the world, many from the Congo in Africa, Asia, all over the world, Europe, rough parts of Europe. And they came from prisons, and they came from mental institutions, and they came from gangs and the gangs of Venezuela and other places. And hundreds of thousands and even millions of them came. 21 million people altogether, but many of the people that came, just a tremendous percentage of them were criminals, in some cases violent criminals. We had 11,088 known murderers. Half of them murdered more than one person. This was allowed by a man who, what he did to our country is just unbelievable. So we're straightening it out. We're getting them out. But what they did and what that party did to our country, open borders, anybody could come in. As soon as I heard that, I said, every prison's going to be emptied out into our country. That's what happened. And we're straightening it out. And we just had numbers. We had the highest recruiting numbers in the history of our country going into police departments. And a year ago, we had the lowest numbers. You couldn't hire a
Biggest change. Yeah.
Nobody's ever
the lowest to the highest.
And the military now, Marines, the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, every slot is, I mean, we have the best numbers we've ever had. We call it recruitment numbers. And we've never had anything like it. We had records on at every single level. But very important, the policemen. The policemen are joining forces now that we're having a hard time with policemen because we weren't protecting our police. Yeah. And we cherish our police. The police are great, and the firemen and everybody else. But we have the highest numbers that we've ever had, the most enthusiasm. Great enthusiasm on trade and other things. We're doing great. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars. We made, 2 weeks ago, I gave them a little bit of a pause because, you have to show a little flexibility. We go back to what we have to do. The markets have been very strong once they got used to it. But we were losing $2 billion a day. There's no company big like this, but this is the biggest deal ever made. Now we're making $3 billion a day. We're a great country, but we had stupid people running this country, and I can say it. What they've done to us at the border should never and can never be forgotten. It's a sin, what they did, and you are helping us out, and we appreciate it. Thanks.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, 95%? It's incredible.
As of this morning, 99%, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, like CNN. CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually. But it's a shame. You're right. Isn't that a great question? Why doesn't the media? Why don't they put out numbers?
Yeah, 99%. I mean, it's crazy, right?
We're doing
it's
great.
A crazy turnaround.
Christy, could you maybe say a couple of words about the border? How we're doing?
It's just been absolutely phenomenal what a great leader can do. Clear direction. Our laws matter. We should only have people in our country that love us, and the Border Patrol and our ICE officers and law enforcement officers have done fantastic work. So we're proud of them. Now we just need to get the criminals and murderers and rapists and dangerous gang members and terrorist organizations out of our country. So, Mr. President Bukele, we thank you very much for your partnership. It has been wonderful for us to be able to have somewhere to send the worst of the worst and someone to partner with. And we'd like to continue that partnership because it's been a powerful message of consequences. Mr. President, you wanted people to know that there was consequences if you break our laws and harm our people and endanger families. And this is a clear consequence for the worst of the worst that we have somewhere to put them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we even had this gang member from Venezuela, one of the ones you sent, and we interviewed him just to get some information, etc. from them. And he said, I got arrested 6 times, but they released me the 6 times, so I should be released again. And then I said, well, what's the last thing you do? And he said, well, I shot a cop in the leg, but I didn't kill him. I just shot him in the leg. And we're like, this guy was arrested 6 times here in the United States, 6 times. He was released 6 times, and in the he was released 5 times, and the last time he was sent to El Salvador, right? So he's not getting released. But the last time he shot a cop, actually, and he shot him in the leg. So these are, like you said, there's something broken.
It's the liberal establishment. but they're not running things anymore in this country, and we're run by, and I don't say conservative, I don't say anything, we're run by people with great common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
Because it's all common sense. It's not liberal conservative, it's common sense.
Exactly.
And, like, do you allow men to play in women's sports? Do you allow men to box your women and box? Because I know you have a lot of boxing.
That's violence.
That's abuse of a woman. It's abuse of a woman. But we have people that fight to the death because they think men should be able to play in women's sports. And some of those sports, it wouldn't matter much, but it still matters. But some of them are very dangerous for women.
Some years ago, I would say a decade ago or so, women rights movements were pressuring so that we enacted specific laws to avoid men abusing women. And I think those laws were great because there were a lot of men abusing women. But now some of the same people are trying to backtrack and actually trying to make new laws allowing men to abuse women in sports. So actually that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It's crazy. You know, they have weightlifting records, right?
Yeah.
A woman gets up this way, she's incredible. A guy gets up and beats her by 100 pounds. What are you going to do? A record that hadn't been broken in 18 years. You know, they put on an ounce, quarter of an ounce, eighth of an ounce for 18 years. Now they have a guy come up, ping. The whole thing is crazy. But they continue to fight. And I don't like talking about it because I want to save it for just before the next election. I said to my people, don't even talk about it because they'll change. And well, but I watched this morning. There was a congressman fighting to the death for men to play against women in sports. And you say to yourself, why? What are they doing? Right? What are they doing? But your country's not too big in that.
No, of course not. We're big in protecting women.
Good. That's right. It's a very important form of protection, too.
And as you can see, most of my cabinet are women. So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's why you're.
And they're not DEI hires or anything. They're just great at what they do. Right?
That's right. This is very impressive. Yeah, this is a first. We've had women, but we've never had three of them right here. That's
4 and 3 men.
Look at what we have. You guys feel a little bit mistreated? That's good. I like it. We've been advanced. I've been very advanced in that regard, too. We have Pam, who's been so fantastic. Christy, and the most powerful woman they say anywhere.
I know, exactly. They're all afraid of
Susie Wells. They say, oh, she's tough. Yeah. Most powerful woman in the world, according to magazines. What do I know? Yes. But I think she probably is. Yeah, she probably is.
Congratulations.
And you know, Stephen, who's done such a great job.
Thank you, sir.
We have great people.
Very famous too.
But we love working with him. He really lets them have it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no games.
No. It's very good.
He knows. Do you have any questions, please?
President Trump.
No, let's not start
Mr.
with
President.
CNN because they're just so
Mr. President.
wrong. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. You repeatedly mentioned last night that Russia's attack on Ukraine was a mistake. What is the exact mistake? And have you given Putin a deadline to actually move toward a ceasefire?
The mistake was letting the war happen. If Biden were competent, and if Zelensky were competent, and I don't know that he is. We had a rough session with this guy over here. He just kept asking for more and more. That war should have never been allowed to happen. That war, I went 4 years and Putin wouldn't even bring it up. And as soon as the election was rigged and I wasn't here, that war started. There was no way that war should have been allowed to happen. And Biden should have stopped it. And you take a look at Putin. I'm not saying anybody's an angel. But I will tell you, I went 4 years and it wasn't even a question. He would never, and I told him, don't do it. You're not going to do it. And it was the apple of his eye, but there was no way that he would have done it. All you had to do is lower oil prices. If you lowered oil prices, Biden kept the prices so high because he made it impossible to get it. If you lowered oil prices, you would have never had the war. But you wouldn't have had it with me anyway. That war would have never happened. And I think it's a great abuse. So now what do? You get a country where 25% of its land is gone, and the best locations, where millions of people are killed. You know, you haven't reported accurately the death. And this was Biden's war, and I'm trying to stop it. And I think we're going to do a good job. I hope we're going to do it. They lose 2,500 young people a week, think on average. Now, they're Russians and they're Ukrainians, but it's 2,000, we don't care, it's like whatever it is. They're not from your country, they're not from mine, but I want to stop it. 2,500 is a killing field. It's like the Civil War. You take a look, I look at the satellite pictures, this should not be happening in our time. Of course, our time can be pretty violent, as we know. But that's a war that should have never been allowed to start. And Biden could have stopped it, and Zelensky could have stopped it, and Putin should have never started it. Everybody's to blame.
Have you spoken to President Zelensky, sir, about his offer to purchase more Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles, you know. He's against, listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size and then hope that people give you some missiles. If we didn't give them what we gave, remember, I gave them javelins. That's how they won their first big battle with the tanks that got stuck in the mud, and they took them out with javelins. They have an expression that Obama at the time, Obama gave them sheets and Trump gave them javelins. But just something that should have never happened. It's a really shame. The towns are destroyed. Towns and cities are, largely destroyed. They have the spires, the beautiful spires that go up. They say they were the most beautiful in the world in Ukraine for whatever reason, but the most beautiful in the world, they're mostly laying on their side, shattered and broken. And most importantly, you have millions of people dead. Millions of people dead because of three people. I would say three people. Let's say Putin, number one, but let's say Biden, who had no idea what the hell he was doing, number two, and Zelensky. And all I can do is try and stop it. That's all I want to do. I want to stop the killing. And I think we're doing well in that regard. I think you'll have some very good proposals very soon.
Last question.
All right, so want to preface what is about to happen here. They're talking about Ukraine and Russia and everything else, and very quickly this is going to move towards the deportation scandal, as they call it. Now, if I can just refresh your memory, because there's been so many court cases, there's this one guy, for some reason, has become the media darling. They absolutely love talking about this guy. He's just a nice guy from Maryland. He just happens to be in a gang. So he gets deported on a plane to El Salvador. He gets put in that maximum security prison, and he's locked away. As President Bukele was saying, he's like, hey, this guy has escaped 6 times. He shot a cop, and, well, you took a violent guy off the streets, and now he's in my prison. But now that's not going to be good enough for the media, because the media interpreted the Supreme Court decision as telling President Trump, go get him. You got to bring him back. It was a 9-0 decision saying, quote, you have to facilitate. You have to effectuate. And that's all it said. I mean, John Roberts whoever wrote the decision, didn't go as far as saying what it should have said. It should have said, hey, pound sand, you can't overrule the president. But it didn't. It kind of left it ambiguous. Well, it's ambiguous enough where President Trump and President Bukele are going to drive a truck through this, and they're going to run over the media standing on the sidelines, which I'm sure they were ready to vomit and throw up. So they're under the assumption, and they've been running with it in the media, which is going to leave them with poop all over their face, because they're saying President Trump was ordered to go get this guy, bring him back to America. And that ain't ever happening. I think I posted on X, he is never coming back, period. Tell his family, stop jerking people around thinking that he may come back. He is never, ever coming back to America. Ain't happening. And I said that, and other people have said it. But after this press conference, there will be no more well, no, they'll probably still argue, but they'll be arguing in the wind. There's no chance this guy will ever step foot in America ever again. And he's going to clarify. So the one thing I want you to take notice of, because I don't want to interrupt here, is when the question gets asked, President Trump and you'll see this, I want you to pay close attention. President Trump does what a president should do. It's a legal matter. Let me go ahead and, tell my attorney general to handle it. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be some people, you're going to hear some talk in the media going, oh. In my opinion, I'd like to get your opinion afterwards, she completely flubs it. As if she didn't know what the hell to say. So badly that when she's done, President Trump calmly looks over that way towards her and goes to Stephen Miller. He basically, in no uncertain terms, you can listen to how he says it, but he almost says like, hey, Stephen, can you clean this up? Because this woman don't know what the hell she's talking about. And see if you get that same feeling. Because that's the feeling I got. It's like, hey, Pam, you want to address this? Hey, Stephen, you want to come in and fix this up? Listen how she answers the question to the media, and then watch Trump look at her, and then look over to Stephen Miller and say, hey, take over, please, because... But in any event, this is really good. And also what the President Bukele says, because they're going to say, hey, I knew it was going to happen. I told Ashley, if they put him in front of the camera, they're going to tell him, you need to send this guy back. They're going to tell the president of a sovereign country, hey, if Trump won't do it, you need to do it. And the guy looks at him and just destroys him. So I want y'all to enjoy this.
Have you attributed a motive through the FBI investigation behind the attack on Governor Josh Shapiro over the weekend?
No, I haven't, but the attacker was not a fan of Trump, I understand, just from what I read and from what I've been told. The attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. It's probably just a whack job. And certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen.
Is your relation with President Bukele the best guarantee that this time you won't terminate the temporary protected status?
I have a great relationship with this man. I have the best relationship with him. We've known each other. I've known him since he was a very young man, as I said, very, very young. And I was impressed. I said, look, this guy is, in fact, you sort of look like a teenager. You look like a teenager. I said, what kind of a country is this? He grew up well in the last 5 years.
Do you support the extension for nationals of El Salvador under temporary protected status?
Do you plan to ask him?
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you. Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for him to get him back?
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0.
In our favor?
In our favor, against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time. No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked President Bukele, can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to have suggested that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin, except for Venezuela that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President, no, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago, and they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over, and that's why nobody watches you anymore? You have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump.
How many times are you going to ask this same question, Caitlin? You ignorant, you know what? Oh my God. I don't even know how you could face your associates in the CNN newsroom. I don't know how you could go back in that press room. You were getting spanked by the President of the United States and the President of El Salvador. They were making you look stupid. I mean, absolutely stupid. And the guy basically laughed. He went, "You just want me to release him in my country? What are you, nuts?" Well, you can release him. No, he's never, ever coming back. Do you finally get it now? Do you understand? This dude is never coming back. They made it completely clear. I don't care what judge in what state says anything. You can have hearing after hearing. You now have heard from the president of El Salvador, the dude is never coming back. And who was it? Was it Marco or was it President? One of them said, end of story. Don't talk about it anymore. We're not asking any more questions. It's over. So I'm sure tonight I'm going to have all kinds of screaming banshee reactions to show you. So you guys saw that whole exchange. I saw some of you guys here said that, you know, Pam, she was okay. She held her own. But I would have expected the answer from Pam to be the answer that Stephen Miller gave. She is the top law enforcement officer in the United States. Stephen Miller isn't the top law enforcement in the United States. He had to explain it to the press. This is the ruling from SCOTUS. This is what it meant. Why is the advisor to the president explaining to the media what I feel the Attorney General should have been explaining, because that's her ballpark. And so to me, what I felt I looked at, and maybe you guys will disagree, maybe I'm wrong, you know, it's a consensus thing, but I felt as though President Trump called somebody out of the bullpen. Hey, you're doing a great job, Pam. Hey, yeah, give me the ball. Steve, pitch. That's what it looked like to me. Having been in many situations where a coach has pulled the player, the first thing you say to the player, good job today, I know you did your best. Hey, can you go in and clean up this thing here? That's what it appeared like to me. I could be wrong. I've been wrong. But that, to me, I was like, oh man, he teed it up for her. Hey, Pam, you want to take this? And she, in my estimation, my opinion, she flubbed it. So she's got to get stronger here. This isn't Fox News. This is real life. This isn't a television set. And Stephen Miller, man, he said, put me in, coach. I'm ready to throw some heat. And he threw fastball after fastball after fastball and basically blew him right past Caitlin Collins, to the point where I don't think many other people in there in this gaggle want to really talk about it. I'm like, oh man, did he just tell her, you're stupid? Nobody watches your network. And you're going to ask me this again? How many times do you have to be chastised by the President of the United States and then made look stupid in front of the President of another country? I think they call that double jeopardy. But that now everybody watching here, and if you guys go on X or anything and you talk, you can confidently say, hey, stupid, he's never, ever, ever coming back, and there's not a court in this country that has any jurisdiction whatsoever over President Bukele. Period. End of story. It's done. This guy is done. And you didn't tell us, Caitlin, that this guy's been arrested 6 times and shot a cop. And did you really just ask the president of El Salvador to just let him go? Did you just really say that? What an idiot you must be. And the people watching CNN must be complete idiots. That's the person that you want representing you? His attorney out there saying he's got to be brought back. I even saw somebody today say he's got to be brought back home. Home? He didn't have a home. His home is over there now. Forward all the mail you want to that jail. It's over. Let's continue. I'll take some comments afterwards.
Thank you so much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, you know, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it, because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous, not just people, because we have people, but we have millions of people that are murderers, drug dealers. They've been allowed to come into our country by other countries that were very smart. When they heard that this very low IQ president, and by the way, I took my cognitive exam as part of my physical exam, and I got the highest mark, and one of the doctors said, sir, I've never seen anybody get that kind of, that was the highest mark. I hope you're happy with that, although they haven't been bugging me too much to take a cognitive, but I did do my physical and it was released. I hope you're all happy with it. I notice there's no question, so probably you are. But the cognitive, they said to me, sir, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, did Biden take one? No. Did Anybody take one? No, not too many people took them. I said, what about Obama? Did he take one? No, he didn't take one either. I said, let me be the only one to take one. But I've actually taken them 3 times already. I like taking them because they're not too tough for me to take. But we had a great physical exam, so I knew you were going to ask that. And the doctors who are total professionals, Walter Reed Medical Center, they're great people. And I visited a soldier that was badly wounded, incredible soldier, lost his leg, and spent a lot of time with him. I mean, great with his mother, and it was really a very great thing. They do a phenomenal job. I just want to say, Walter Reed, I was there for, 5-6 hours. You were there with me. But I took a full physical, and it came out perfecto, so it's good. She got me for a little longer.
Would the U.S. be willing to pay for those facilities to be opened and new ones were going to be built?
I'd do something. We'd help them out. Yeah, we help them. They're great facilities, very strong facilities, and they don't play games. I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve, okay?
How essential is it for you guys to be locking up these prisoners? And do you think more presidents should follow suit like you guys as far as taking a hard stance on crime here in the United States?
Well, I do. I think everybody has to. The president said it better than anybody. He said, you have liberty and you have to have liberty, but to have liberty, not everybody is going to be good. And, some are bad because they're sick. They're mentally deranged. They're bad. Then you have to take them. If you're going to have a country, you're going to have to take those people out. And we've been doing that. But this was like an unforced error, they would call it, where we had people that may hate our country, or maybe they're just stupid people. I think they're probably stupid people more so. A lot of people said they did it for the vote. But I did better with Hispanic people than they did, because they always use Hispanic. I did better. You people love me. I saw my poll numbers in your country up through the roof, right? 91%. Some people think they do it for the vote. But they don't have to do it for the vote. They cheat, they're professional cheaters. That's about the only thing they do well. So we just have had a great relationship, and it's become bigger because of a strange thing has happened. I came back. We had no war in Ukraine. We had no no October 7th Middle East problem. We had nothing. We had no inflation. We didn't have the Afghanistan, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, the Afghanistan, not withdrawing, because I would have been out, I had it all set to bring people out with dignity and pride. That was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan. We didn't have any of that. You wouldn't have had the war with Russia, Ukraine. You wouldn't have had the Middle East problem because Iran was broke. They had no money because we had secondary sanctions on and lots of other sanctions. And now every single thing, got a problem with Iran, but I'll solve that problem. That's almost an easy one. We got to solve a war that should have never started, Ukraine and Russia, and we'll get that solved. And we have to solve problems, and we already solved inflation. If you look at the numbers are incredible, actually. Stock market's up, and we're not letting other countries take advantage of this country like they have for the last 40 years. So thank you very much. You have a question, please?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you so much. You scored another major investment win this morning when NVIDIA pledged to build its AI supercomputer, the first time ever, right here in the United States.
Thank you. That's a question I like. That's true.
What is your reaction to this announcement, sir, and how will this positively benefit Americans across America?
Well, it's one of the biggest announcements you'll ever hear, because NVIDIA, as you know, controls that almost the entire sector, which is one of the most important sectors in the world, between chips and semiconductors and everything else. And they're the biggest. And the other biggest we already have coming in and spending $300 billion, as you know. They announced 2 weeks ago. But NVIDIA is so highly respected. And this was an announcement that a lot of people, I knew it was going to happen, but not to the extent that it happened. It's big. And the reason they did it is because of the election on November 5th and because of a thing called tariffs. As I said, the most beautiful word in the dictionary. After love, God, relationship. The press actually hit me and said, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. What about family, love, God? I got hit even on that. You understand? I said, okay. So now I say it's my 5th most favorite word because they get you on anything. But that NVIDIA, it's one of the great companies of the world. Modern, super modern companies, controls segments that nobody, sort of controls the world in a sense, and they're coming in here in the biggest way with hundreds of billions of dollars. Not like millions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and I'm honored by it. And I want to thank Jensen and all of the people that we deal with. They're great people, they're brilliant people. And without tariffs, they wouldn't be doing it. Okay? Thank you very much.
Are you considering additional sanctions against Russia after their latest attack? And do you have an update on the rate and when you might announce semiconductor
Well, I already have
tariffs?
sanctions on Russia. I put them there. If you remember, Nord Stream 2, that's the big pipeline that goes through Europe. I stopped it. That's Russia's pipeline, the largest pipeline, I think, in the world. Goes to Germany. And I stopped it. And when Biden came in, he approved it. And then they say, oh, I'm friendly with Russia. No. Putin said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you when you're my enemy. I stopped the biggest economic job they ever had. I stopped it cold, right? It was dead. You know that, right? And Biden came in and he immediately approved it. What was that all about? And it's a pipeline that takes care of a lot of the needs. Now, it was a very controversial thing, but I stopped it and Biden approved it. Question?
On tariffs?
No, not you. Not
Semiconductor tariffs and potentially pharmaceuticals. Semiconductor tariffs and potentially pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals we're going to do. We don't make our own drugs, our own pharmaceuticals. We don't make our own drugs anymore. The drug companies are in Ireland and they're in lots of other places, China. And all I have to do is impose a tariff. The more, the faster they move in. The higher the tariff, it's very simple. It's inversely proportional. The higher the tariff, the faster they come. And we're going to be doing that. That's going to be like we have on cars. We have, as you know, a 25% tariff on cars. We have a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. And that's what that category fits right now.
Do you have a percentage in mind? You have a timeline?
I have a timeline, not too distant future. We're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things. And they're all coming in. We have record numbers, $7 trillion. Since I announced, like a month and a half ago, since I came in, we have over $7 trillion being invested in the country. We didn't have $1 trillion. We didn't have $500 billion with some of these guys. I didn't know what the hell they were doing. So we have the largest investment that we've ever heard of, and we're only 2 months in. And that'll continue at levels that you've never seen before. It's going to happen. And even the stock market's up today. We also, a lot of people didn't say it the way it was. We had the largest gain in the stock market in history on every single category last week. That was a nice game because we were getting a little hit because people didn't understand the power of our country economically if you use it right. Do you have something to say on that, JD?
Yes, sir. I mean, look, for 40 years, we have lost manufacturing capacity. Workers have seen their wages stagnate. And some of the most critical things that we need, from the pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we give to our children, the antibiotics that we give to our kids, to the weapons that we actually need to fight a war, if God forbid we had to fight a war, we don't make enough of that stuff. And so President Trump ran explicitly on changing that. Yes, as the president mentioned, it caused a little bit of disruption in the market, but I actually think over the long term, workers are going to benefit, stocks are going to go up, American businesses are going to benefit as we reinvest and reindustrialize our country.
And the auto workers and the Teamsters and all of the unions, not traditionally Republican, but I'm winning those unions by, 40, 50 points on the Democrats. They're losing everything. They're losing everything because they just have policies that are not believable. They fight for policies that are 5% popular, and nobody knows who the 5% are. I mean, nobody can find the 5%. But if you go back to Ohio, and by the way, we have the great championship team from Ohio coming in today, right?
Very big day.
And that's going to be a little bit later. And that'll be, if you want to stick around, I'll introduce you. You'll see some very large people, right? You'll see some people that even you have not seen people like this. These are 6'7", 380 pounds with no fat. Okay, that's pretty good. Right? But the team, the national championship team, is being honored today at the White House, so that'll be exciting. If you're around, you want to stay around, I'll have you up there. You can tell them all about your prison, how you have to behave. Who else?
Are those exemptions on electronics?
You said yesterday that you're making a decision on Iran very quickly. What do you mean by that? Is that a decision to strike Iran?
Solve their problem very quickly. Iran wants to deal with us, but they don't know how. They really don't know how. We had a meeting with them on Saturday. We have another meeting scheduled next Saturday. I said, that's a long time. That's a long time. So I think they might be tapping us along. But Iran has to get rid of the concept of a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. He can't have a nuclear weapon. Nobody can have. We can't have anybody having nuclear weapons, We can't have nuclear weapons. And I think they're tapping us along because we're so used to dealing with stupid people in this country. And I had Iran perfect. You had no attacks. You would have never had October 7th in Israel, the attack by Hamas, because Iran was broke. They were stone cold broke when I was president. And I don't want to do it. I want them to be a rich, great nation. The only thing is, one thing, simple. It's really simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And they got to go fast because they're fairly close to having one. And they're not going to have one. And if we have to do something very harsh, we'll do it. And I'm not doing it for us, I'm doing it for the world. And these are radicalized people, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Does that include a potential strike on Iranian nuclear facilities?
Of course it does.
And just a follow-up question on clarification. You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially U.S. citizens, fully naturalized Americans?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn, yeah, that includes them. What do you think? There's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones too, and I'm all for it because we can do things with the president for less money and have great security. And we have a huge prison population. We have a huge number of prisons, and then we have the private prisons, and some are operated well, I guess, and some aren't. But he does a great job with that. We have others that we're negotiating with too. But no, if it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And I'm talking about violent people. I'm talking about really bad people. Really bad people. Every bit as bad as the ones coming in. And I made the statement when I heard about this a long time ago now, 4 years ago. When I heard that this guy was having open borders, I said every single criminal from all over the world is going to be dumped into our country. And that's what happened. The jails of the Congo were emptied out. The jails of Venezuela were emptied out. And you know what happened? Their crime went way down. But now Venezuela has other problems. You know what the problem is? They have no money. Because I shut off their oil and we put secondary tariffs because they're not doing what's right over there. They know what to do. We spoke to them. I spoke to them. They know what to do. But they have no money. Venezuela has no money. But Iran had no money. And Iran behaved so beautifully. And then Biden took all those secondary tariffs and tariffs on. I told China, you can't buy oil. If you buy oil from Iran, China, I told it to President Xi, then we no longer want you to do business with the United States of America. And those ships disappeared from that harbor so quickly. China. Get along great with China.
Are the talks with Iran productive? Do you want to continue that? The talks with Iran, do you believe those are productive? Do you want to continue that?
I think Iran could be a great country as long as it doesn't have nuclear weapons. If they have nuclear weapons, they'll never get a chance to be a great country. They will never get a chance. It won't even come close.
Sir, on tariffs.
Yeah.
Yesterday you mentioned short-lived product exemptions. Which specific products are you considering, and how long is short-lived? Weeks, months?
I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies where they're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places, and they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here, but they need a little bit of time. So I'm talking about things like that.
What about any Apple products, other cell phones?
Look, I'm a very flexible person. I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible. And you have to be. You just can't have a wall and you'll only go. No, sometimes you have to go around it, under it, or above it. There'll be maybe things coming up. I speak to Tim Cook. I helped Tim Cook recently, and that whole business. I don't want to hurt anybody, but the end result is we're going to get to the position of greatness for our country. We're the greatest economic power in the world if we're smart. If we're not smart, we're going to hurt our country very badly. We lost with China over the Biden years trillions of dollars on trade, trillions of dollars, and he let them fleece us. And we can't do that anymore. And you know what? I don't blame China at all. I don't blame President Xi. I like him. He likes me. I mean, you know, who knows? Who the hell cares?
Do you have any updates on talks?
But you know what?
China?
What?
Do you have any updates with talks with China?
No, let me just tell you this. I don't blame China. I don't blame Vietnam. I see them meeting today. Isn't that wonderful? That's a lovely meeting. They're meeting, like trying to figure out how do we screw the United States of America? Don't forget, the European Union was formed to do just that. The European Union was formed to hurt the United States and on trade. And they get us on NATO because they don't pay their bills. But now, since I got involved, they have been paying their bills. I took in over $600 billion for NATO. Nobody took in anything. I mean, they were all delinquent. They had 8 nations out of 28 paid their bills. The rest of them were way delinquent. And I said, if you don't pay your bills, we're not going to protect you anymore. And the money poured in over 600. The Secretary General last week made that statement. He said, I've never seen anything like it. We couldn't get anybody to pay because the United States was footing the bill for NATO. Well, we got hurt there, and we got hurt on trade, likewise, European Union. And they've got to come to the table, and they're trying to. They're trying to. But the European Union has taken terrible advantage. They don't take our food products. They don't take our cars. We have millions of their cars, BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, many others. They come in by the millions. They don't take. There are no Chevrolets in Munich, I can tell you that. I said to Angela Merkel when she was there, as she was letting millions of people infiltrate Germany, which was not so good from, we would call them illegal immigrants, but she made them legal. But I said to her, and I get along with her very well, I said, how many Chevrolets do we have in Munich or Frankfurt? Why, none, Donald, none. I said, you're right. And yet we take in millions and millions of cars. No, those days are over.
How long
Okay,
did the exemption
thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Mr. President, can you comment on the FTC?
All right, so that was the open press conference. I believe we're going to wait and see what's going on with Ohio State, and I've got Mark Mitchell coming up in about 10 minutes or so when he gets in from Rasmus. But first thing I want to address is this whole Pam Bondi thing. And I know everybody has an opinion, and everybody's entitled to an opinion, even me, even you. You see, I'm from Florida, South Florida, actually. Actually, I'm from Connecticut, but I've lived in South Florida for quite some time. I am very, 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 very familiar with Pam Bondi. And it's always interesting to me because when I get comments like this, Barry, I don't think you like Pam. I'm right there with you. Can't put my finger on it quite yet. Might be something. I don't dislike Pam Bondi. So I'm going to tell you, if you're new to this channel, let me just give you a little background on myself. The background on myself is I played football, I played baseball for a while, I threw the shot put, I was on many, many teams, and I've coached. And I used an analogy before I showed you that clip, a baseball analogy. And that baseball analogy is, I felt that President Trump tapped into the bullpen and brought in Stephen Miller and took Pam Bondi out. There was nothing in what I said that said I don't support Pam Bondi or I dislike Pam Bondi. You see, as a former athlete, I understand full well about being a team player. When you see one of your performers, one of your teammates not performing well, even if they get yanked out of game for really just being crap, it does not mean you do not have faith in that person. It does not mean you don't like this person. It means today, whatever happened, you didn't perform at your best. But you know what? I'm still right there with you. I am on your team. I have not kicked you off. I have not gone to the coach and say, hey, coach, he sucks. The coach has not told the rest of us, hey, she sucks, meaning Pam Bondi. I'm just saying that she had what, in my estimation, was a bad day, a bad performance. Does not and will not be indicative of future performance, and it's certainly, because I've seen it, not indicative of past performance. I think some of you have to come in with a mindset and realize there's only one person who ever walked on water. Actually, watching a movie yesterday, there was two, but he failed because he did not believe. The other guy walks on water. Everybody else, we can't do it. So every single one of us has warts and blemishes, and none of us walk on water. And yes, some of us, many of us, have bad games. And when we have those bad games, the thing we need is for everyone to, A, notice there was a bad game, and B, help pick them up and say, you didn't play that well today, you need to up your game. And I felt, me personally, like Stephen Miller did that. I felt like the coach said, thanks, you're doing a great job. Let this guy finish. He's the flamethrower. He's going to come in, he's going to be Mariano Rivera, and he's going to shut these people down. You set it up nice. Going full with the, baseball analogy here. Because I think it's important for you to understand criticism in any way, shape, or form does not mean you no longer like somebody. It means you can be critical and still want those people on your team. I still want Pam Bondi on my team. I watched her throw touchdowns down here. I watched her win over and over and over again. I am not in any way, shape, or form disliking Pam Bondi. I am criticizing Pam Bondi when I say things like that, and every single one of you should be able to feel open that criticism does not mean disrespect. If I was calling her an effing this or that, I would be disrespectful. Nope, what I said was I didn't like her performance and I believe she got yanked. That's not disrespectful. If you knew how many times I got yanked out of a game or had a coach put his foot up my butt, you would understand we know what that means. And so I hope that gives you some perspective. Is like when I watch these things, don't think that Barry's, he's given up on her or he doesn't like her. No. I'm calling it as I personally see it. Quick, before Mark comes on, let me tell you a quick story. And it was, I told you guys, maybe I told you this the other day. Anyway, Robin and I went out to dinner on Saturday night, And when we went out to dinner, I didn't tell you the whole story, but we had a guy who was sitting at a table right behind where Robin was sitting. And I noticed every time he talked, he had a big ring. I mentioned this yesterday. And when he had that big ring, I noticed it was a Super Bowl ring. And we got to talking, blah, 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 small talk. I'm going to move forward real quick. Part of the conversation was, if you guys remember, most of the guys will not understand this, he was the center for Joe Namath. Joe Namath was the all-world quarterback. Handsome guy, did everything, braggadocio. Well, everybody knows right now, in 1969, when he won that Super Bowl, what made it such a big deal was because he guaranteed a win prior to the game. He went on the news and said, yeah, we're definitely going to win. I guarantee you we're going to win. And people are like, you're playing Johnny Unitas and the Colts, and these guys are bad, right? And you're guaranteeing a win, and you guys have never played in this game before? Well, the part people don't know in the story that you never heard was his team was pissed at him for doing that. I'm like, dude, do you understand what you just unleashed? These people are going to be ticked off. They're going to be mad. They're going to come at us with everything they got because you opened your mouth. And they got pissed at him. But they all rallied behind him. You see, you can be critical, you can be upset, but you're still part of the team. And your teammates respond to how you perform. And so that performance that Joe Namath did made them all respond. When he found out they were pissed off, he came into the locker room with t-shirts and already had Super Bowl champion on it, so they would know, I'm serious about this. They're like, oh, this dude's serious. Yeah, oh, okay. And then, of course, history tells you they won. They weren't supposed to. He made a bold statement. He backed it up. His teammates were pissed, but then they got behind him. I just want to summarize that by saying that's exactly how I feel about Pam Bondi. I know she's good. I've seen it in action down here. She has performed admirably. She has been a champion. I just felt today, and then there's been a couple other times where I felt she hasn't performed as I know her to perform. See, that's where the difference is. I'm not saying she sucks. I'm not saying get rid of her. Her past performances elevated her to the point where it's like watching Aaron Judge play. You sit there and turn it on because you're hoping he hits a home run, and then he might ground out or he might strike out. But do you want Aaron Judge off your team? Oh, wait, no, I'm not saying that. And I hate the Yankees. And there's no way if Aaron Judge strikes out, do I want to, he sucks, get rid of him. Because I know he's going to hit 60 home runs this year. We're all just waiting for that next Pam Bondi home run. Some of you haven't seen it before. I have seen it. So I hope that explains it. I'll be right back. With everything that's happening in the economy right now, it feels like we're all walking around on shaky ground. Prices are stuck at a really high level, and it seems like nothing is affordable anymore. It's no wonder many are relying on credit cards to cover the gaps. Credit card debt is skyrocketing, and it's leaving a lot of people stressed out. However, if you're a homeowner, you don't have to face this uncertainty alone. My friends at American Financing can help you take control. They can help you access the equity in your home to help you pay down that high-interest credit card debt, giving you peace of mind and real savings. On average, people just like you are saving $800 a month. Plus, they may be able to close your loan in as little as 10 days. Don't let the chaos of the economy and everything that's in the media right now get the best of you. Call American Financing today. It costs you nothing to get started, and you might be able to delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you a cushion in this uncertain time. Call 888-976-5555. That's 888-976-5555. Or you can visit AmericanFinancing.net/Barry. All right, so looks like Mark's not in the bullpen yet. Keep staying with that analogy. He hasn't logged in yet, so I don't want to go much further with some videos I have. So I'll go ahead and take some questions. or comments. We all watched Trump in court. How about Obama? Now, Pam, would love to see that. You do criticize her on a regular basis. Yep. And I will continue. But then I also will applaud her. You see, that's what people do when they support somebody. It's not all platitudes. Sorry, that's just how it is. I know the woman sitting out there who I love. And you should know this. That woman out there who I love and would do anything in the world for, who I've been with now 32 years, I'm pretty sure if she was sitting right next to me, she would be like, there's been quite a few times, many times in the last 32 years, that she has not liked what I've done. Just saying. But I also know that she's got my back no matter what. I think that's probably the best analogy. And those of you who are married, you can probably look across the table at the person you love and go, yeah, he's done some stuff I ain't liked over the last couple of years. And I've told him about it, and I will continue to tell him about it. But I love him, and I will have his back. That's the difference, if people understand it. Steve Miller dumps it down for the CNN hive. That's more importantly right there, something big. See, I can't wait to see what the reaction is all over TV. Which word does activist Caton Collins not understand? I don't know. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. That's wow, I love that. I really like that. Great job. Well said, Barry. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing I could put it to. She doesn't do everything I like, but I wouldn't have anybody else, and I adore her, and, she's everything I want. She pissed me off sometimes. I'm sure your other half pisses you off. It's called being able to grow. You first get married, you're like, oh, this is all great. This is fine. Oh. And it hits you, right? I got to work at this. That's great, Barry. You're a lucky guy. Yes, I am. Didn't Tulsi Gabbard say Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon and the supreme leader suspended in 2003? They may have, but I don't know if Trump trusts them. That's the thing. She doesn't understand. And that's, I think, what we need to focus on. Brat girl, you put it. She doesn't. You're not coming back. He's not coming back. It ain't ever happening. And then the second thing is, why are these people so worried about some guy in a gang? How is that even a story for them? Why are you? Hey, the president and his people sent this guy packing. End of story. Why are you? I mean, now you look really questionable. You're supporting this gang member. To this point, doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I mean, it drives me nuts. Pam is way better than we had under. Well, that's an understatement. That is a serious understatement. Of course, she's much better than Merrick Garland. Whew. Yeah. Okay. So they are going to show President Trump meeting the Ohio State football team. I wonder if the president from El Salvador will be there. That would be very interesting. I'm not sure when that is going to happen. I'm waiting for Mark to log in, and if he's in here, I'm not going to cut away for the football team, but I'll see if we can't possibly. If I can pause it and when it happens, I'll do that, and then we'll play it on replay, that type of thing. Let me see if Mark's in here yet. Mark is not in here yet. So since he's not here yet, let's go ahead and do this. Let me talk to you about the Patriot knives, the red knife, and where is that button? And we'll go ahead and click here. All right, so let me get this thing out of here. All right, guys. As you know, I've talked to you many times about the Patriot red knife, Patriot Addict red knife, and the Trump Patriot Addict red knife. And it comes in this nice container here. You can see there it is. Let me get it out of here. All right, so here is the Patriot Red Knife by Patriot Addict. There it is, Trump Red Knife. and it normally retails for $70, but you can get this knife for $13.99 by just paying shipping, by going to the QR code over here or going to berryknife.com. Again, if I can show this to you, and what do you say? Show it. Oh, my little Trump bobblehead guy was talking to me. I feel like it, little Trump bobblehead guy says, show the knife. So let me undo it without cutting myself. Boom, there's the knife. Very sharp. It is a really good knife. It's big. Like I said, this is about 10 inches in terms of how big that knife is. It's got good weight to it. It's not a flimsy knife. It is not going to break on a fish or something, or a piece of, ooh, I almost cut myself, a piece of rope or anything. I wouldn't go chopping wood with it, but you could probably do some, little pruning in around the house or something. But it's very easy to use. Not a switchblade, but it does have a quick release button. Again, this is the Patriot Addict Trump Red Knife, and it's $13.99, I believe, for shipping. If you click the QR code here, you're going to get it for free. Normally it retails for $70, and you can get it for, just for the cost of shipping, $13.99. I would go ahead and get that before they sell out. So thank you very much, Patriot Addict, for supporting the show. Let me see if Mark's here yet. And Mark is in the house. So give me 1 second. We'll get Mark set up and we'll come right back on.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so before Mark comes on, I wanted to show you guys this poll that the hairy guy from CNN put out. And then once you see this video, I'm going to ask Mark about it and look at the numbers he's been pulling. In case you guys don't know who Mark is, Mark Mitchell is the lead pollster with Rasmussen Reports. He is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, an absolute genius with the numbers. His polls in the presidential race were dead on. He's all in about the numbers. And so let's watch this, and then we'll talk to Mark.
I would argue this is the worst set of polling data that Donald Trump has had in his entire second term as president, in part because the CBS News YouGov poll that came out yesterday has been one of his best. Let's first take a look at how folks are feeling about the state of the economy. Think that the economy is getting worse. Well, you don't have to be a mathematical genius to see the trend line on your screen, and it is getting worse. More folks are feeling the economy is going southward. Back in November, it was just 42% of Americans who said the economy is getting worse. You jump forward to February, 49%. You jump forward to March, 51%. Now look at this number, 53%. The clear majority of Americans think that the economy is getting worse. It's an 11-point jump from November to now, and of course, Donald Trump won the 2024 election because he promised to fix the economy, and yet views of the economy are going down. The percentage who say it's getting worse is going up, Sarah.
Okay, so usually the former administration actually is responsible for the economy, especially in the first couple of years of the new presidency. So who are people blaming for this?
This, to me, is a very interesting trend line that we're seeing develop over the last few months. All right, so Of course, Joe Biden was the last president. Donald Trump is the current president. Donald Trump wants to say, don't blame me if you're upset with the state of the economy. Blame the other guy. I don't think Americans are buying what he's selling at this particular point, at least anymore. More responsible for the economic state. They asked about inflation back in March. Look at this. 38% said Joe Biden. 34% said Donald Trump. But look at where we are this month when they asked about the general state of the economy. Look at how much higher the Trump number is. 54%. The Joe Biden percentage drops through the floor at 21%. So this idea that Donald Trump will try to sell to the American public, is trying to sell to the American public, is that it's the other guy. It's not me. It's that other guy, that old guy, Joe Biden. No longer is this being the American public is no longer buying this set of arguments like they were back in March. And of course, what is so important here? We have had the tariff war in the last month. That's what's going on. I believe that a massive shift is occurring because Americans are seeing what's happening on their television screens. They are seeing what's happening in the stock market. They're seeing what's happening in the bond market. One day, Donald Trump says one thing about the tariff war. The next day, he says another thing. One day, one of his advisors says one thing. The next day, that same exact advisor says another thing. And all of a sudden, Americans are picking up on this. And this idea that Donald Trump is trying to sell, that you can blame Joe Biden. Look at this again. This percentage, 54 to 21. A clear majority now are blaming Donald Trump for the state of the economy, not Joe Biden.
It's clear they're literally not buying it. All right. So how has all of this...
And one of the things I'm going to ask Mark about, if you notice what they're saying here, and let me just pause this. Boom. It says 54% of people now believe this is Donald Trump's economy. Is that a bad thing? I guess that's what I'm going to ask Mark is that a bad thing? Because I don't feel like things are going bad. I don't know how many of you watching feel things are going bad, but the fact now, if 54% of people, I won't use the word blame, I think if 54% of people are looking at the economy and saying this is Trump's economy, could Harry be reading this wrong? Is this something where people are like, yeah, this isn't like it was. We're seeing better gas prices. We're seeing egg prices go down. We're okay with the tariffs. So then it would make sense that 54% of people now believe it's Donald Trump's economy because this is the economy people wanted. I don't see any ill effect. Like I said, I went out to dinner on Saturday night. We go to the movies last night. We go shop. There is no ill effect. We're not seeing it. Maybe we're, economically resistant or agnostic living here in Boca Raton, Florida. But I talk to people in other areas of the country. I'm like, hey, are you guys staying home now because things are bad? And they're like, what are you talking about? The airports are packed. People coming down here. So people are coming. So if that 54%, notice it doesn't, there's nothing on that chart that says that's 54% of people are pissed off with Trump. Basically, 54% of people say he now owns the economy, which that's fine. That is completely fine with me.
Or the uncertainty, the back and forth, the flip-flopping, how is that affecting his overarching rating?
Yeah, okay, so I think this is so important, right? We've been talking about the economy, right? We talked about it last week. We spoke about it the week before. This has been the number one story of the Trump presidency, and I made you viewers a promise. I said if prices go up and voters' thoughts on the economy go down, that would bring Donald Trump's approval rating down with him. That was the promise I made. And let's take a look at whether or not that's actually occurring, because that's the whole kid and caboodle here. If the two aren't linked, who really cares, right? Except for our 401ks. Trump's net approval rating. Look at this. It's a huge slide in it. In early February, it was plus 6 points. Then you go to late February, plus 2 points. Then you go to March, it's even. And look at this massive jump. From late March to now, minus 6 points. That's a 6-point drop in less than a month. And why is that occurring? It is because of the tariff war. The voters are punishing Donald Trump in one of his best polls, which now even that best poll is a negative poll for Donald Trump.
Your promise came true, but I have the feeling you would not have done this if your promise was completely wrong.
I get to choose my own segment, Sarah Steiner, and so I chose this one.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much, Harry Enton.
All right, Mark, you're up. You're up, brother. Talk to us about Harry's numbers and the magician that he is and where he's pulling this stuff from. Everybody, this is Mark Mitchell. Tell me, what's going on with these numbers?
There's so much. I mean, he had so much in that segment. I'm like trying to list it in my head, like how I'm going to come at this. But here's what I have to say. Like, everybody needs to chill out. Just chill out a little bit. Yeah, Trump's approval went down. It's probably going to go back up again. But you know who else's approval? Look, they had the CBS, and I find it very interesting that they're quoting CBS literally the night after Donald Trump roasted CBS on Truth Social because of the lawsuit, right? Turns out the lawsuit made CBS actually more accurate at polling because it pushed their numbers to the right to match mine. But anyways, in CBS polling, Trump approval has gone down 12 points. In our polling, Trump approval's gone down, about 12 points. You know who else's approval went down 12 points? Joe Biden's about 12 points in, 2021, and Donald Trump's in 2017. Like, it's just what happens. People come in with a honeymoon, and, their approval gets lower. Our Trump approval is at 48 right now. He's underwater 2 points. And you'll notice that CBS took that at absolutely the worst time. We had Trump underwater 5 last week too, but he's back up. And so what I think is going on, and it's a massive Gordian knot because there's so much conflation going on between what's the economy and tariffs and the stock market, right? Voters voted for Donald Trump not because of the stock market.
Correct.
They knew tariffs were part of the program, but they didn't know what tariffs were. And so what's happening now is you have establishment people who are threatened by this change in the markets, this massive dislocation. They're unwinding 50 years of offshoring. It's going to be rocky, especially for the 10% who own stocks or whatever it is, right? But the voters don't. The voters are living paycheck to paycheck now because of Joe Biden. We had numbers where only 20% said that today's children will be better off than their parents. And I think the number was like low 30s said they were better off than they were 4 years ago. That number's down from the high 50s back just 20 years ago when we started polling. So it's like the great financial crisis, all of this concentration of wealth and power, it's really gutted the middle class, and that's why they voted for Trump. Now, I think what you might be seeing is that they still are effective at whipping up outrage, and that's probably what's driving this Trump blip. But again, he's back up to 48. I think he'll be about 50 because that's where his support is. I think you have to see way more pain than this. And maybe the pain's coming. I don't know. It's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen here. But what Americans do know that we have 20 years of polling on is that I think the next psychological operation is that they're going to try to convince everybody that China was great. They're our best partner. They're our trade, for 20 years it was awesome and it's working out for everybody. Why'd Trump have to go and blow that up? And I have 20 years of polling that shows that no, American people were way, way ahead of leadership. And so I all think this comes back to China. We had 50% of voters saying that China was an enemy, up from like 15% just 10 years ago. And then we also asked, is China's economic best interest in Americans' best interest? And almost 80% say no. So people get it. They know that it's about China and jobs. And, this is just more of the gaslighting machine trying desperately to shill for the establishment. And I think it's going to fail.
You want to hear something funny? And I don't know when they did that poll, but here's something really interesting. I just ran the Dow Jones, the stock market numbers, and I did it over the last 5 days. So all the tumultuous volatility and everything goes on. Do you know that the market is up 1,800 points in the last 5 days and up almost 5%? So I'm like, all the people who freaked out before, right after the tariff thing, no one's talking about it right now. And whenever I show people, and the dip was here, and it's steadily going back up. And every single day, something else get announced. Today, the thing got announced with Nvidia's putting in 500, but the media doesn't want to talk about that stuff. So one of the things that I want to ask you from a messaging standpoint is, they're talking about, or Harry just said, people are worried about the tariffs. The tariffs they wouldn't even affect normal people for months to come. So is it a messaging issue? Because I noticed one of your numbers was, 66% of people are against tariffs. They don't even know what's going to happen. There's nothing really in place right now. So how can you be against something when you don't even know how it's going to affect you?
Well, we have grading on the tariffs, but the tariffs are hard to poll on because it's so easy to write a manipulative question for that. I will say the CBS polling, I think, was taken April 8th through 10th, which is when the market was down and coming back up, right? So people, and again, we poll continuously. So I have poll numbers when the market was down too, and Trump was underwater 5, exactly the same as CBS. And so I think they're going to have him back up. Now, I think that why they focused on the market is because still a lot of people, even though they don't have equities, they'll get the headline that the market's down 10% or whatever, right? And I think what the establishment's freaking out about is, like, obviously anybody bought off by China is getting their phone melted right now. There's quite a few of them, I'll tell you what. And then, you have a lot of corporations who have gone long offshoring. Like 71% Amazon SKUs I've heard are from Chinese-based manufacturers, and that's like a problem. Now, some of this cost is obviously going to get passed on to consumers eventually, but it won't be a direct one-for-one of the tariff. Like, countries are going to eat some of it, and it's not in finished goods, right? A lot of the stuff is upstream or it's getting marked up when it gets sold by an American manufacturer. But what the establishment is also concerned about, I think, is the 10-year treasury yield, the VIX, like all of these other things where it's like, hey, there could be a ugly decoupling with the dollar and financial stability, essentially. That's a hard one to sell to the U.S. American voters, so they use the Dow. That's what they used. Everybody
and they're not explaining to people why the 10-year yield is going down or up is because China's dumping all this cash into it to try to manipulate it so it moves back and forth. But you never hear about that in the media whatsoever. It's crazy that too many people who have vested interest in knowing about things financially aren't educated about things financially, and they're letting people like CNN and MSNBC sway things. And I noticed something when Harry was talking, and I know he probably doesn't watch my videos, but usually on the bottom of his charts, he'll put the dates as when those things were taken. And noticeably absent, this time there were no dates on the bottom, so nobody could look in and go, oh, you're serving us up spoiled milk, because it was last week. So it's crazy with that. So what are you finding? Are people understanding how China is integrated with this and how he took the tariffs away or paused it? Are they being influenced with the amount of people who are trying to come to the table and cut a deal?
Let me give you a bunch of numbers, and we can all sit back and judge. And I'll also say, right, he cherry picks. He does. And I don't know if he writes it himself. Maybe it's his producer. Remember a week ago, Harry was talking about how Trump was soaring like an eagle and breaking down new walls in his ability to get things done, like 84% or whatever the number was. But he could have picked the Harvard-Harris polling that was done over the same time period and has Trump +2. I'm saying, like, he could have put that up, and he chose not to. But okay, so what do we have? Let me recap. Last time we asked, is China an ally or an enemy? I think it was low teens said ally and about 50% said enemy. That's bad. That's like a bad signal considering they're our most favored nation, biggest trading partner. Then we also have been asking this question, who is America's biggest enemy? And we give people a list and ask them to pick the number one. And China used to be up there, but now China is number 2 because the Democrat Party takes number 1 and the Republican Party takes number 3 ahead of Russia. So what's happened is because of the political divisiveness and all of the context of violence, people are a lot more domestically focused than they were 5, 10, 15 years ago. So they do kind of care less about China, but they still say it's our number 1 non-domestic enemy. So whatever that means, right? Okay, so we asked before, like a month ago, should Trump increase or decrease tariffs? And we got about a third who said increase and a third who said decrease. So completely inconclusive. Then we asked after Liberation Day, going into this, before Liberation Day, we had rate Donald Trump on the issue of the economy, and it was 48% excellent or good with, I think, a 30% excellent. That's pretty good, considering the highest that Joe Biden got rated on anything ever was, I think, 43%. So, again, lower than Trump's approval, but a really good number because people always get rated less than their job approval.
Right.
So now we have, this is from April 7th to 9th. So peak, the markets were plummeting, right? This is the absolute worst time to ask this question. Approve or disapprove of President Trump's tariff policies? 27% strongly approve, 16% somewhat. So that's 43%. 52% disapprove, 42% strongly. So it's underwater. It's underwater 9 points. And you could say, all right, well, that's underwater more than Trump, but it's not like flaming opposition. And Republicans are for it, 71%, 26% of Republicans against, only 37% of independents. So independents are the soft target here,
Right.
I think, that they're going after with this. But then we said, all right, well, how likely is it that President Trump's tariff policy will cause a major recession? And 64% said likely, 43% said very likely, including 47% of Republicans.
Wow.
So it turns out that almost 40% of people who approve of Trump also think a recession is going to be caused by his tariff policy. So that's an eye-opener. That's like, well, I don't care. This has to get done. Like Trump's been out there saying, can't fix something without the medicine. And so I think that's a pretty stunning finding. But Democrats, like they're like, yeah, this is definitely their numbers off the charts. 80%, 65%, very likely. So I think, you know how they shifted from like burning Teslas to hands off. I think that is reflected here in these numbers. Democrats love authority. They love Jim Cramer telling them that Trump is burning the things down. But then which is more important, creating more jobs for American workers or keeping a strong stock market for investors? And it's jobs, 63% to 21%. That's the most predictable number anywhere. And that's why Trump won. Right. So it's like, again, you're going to throw the stock market again at Trump over and over again. But no, Americans want wages and jobs. Even 63% of Democrats say more jobs. Only 24% say the stock market. So it's not the stock market. And here I'm going to try and predict the future. I think next week you're going to see, maybe this week, I wouldn't drop it on a Monday. I'd drop it on a Tuesday or Wednesday. You're going to see a trade deal. Maybe it's Japan. I don't know. Then you're going to see one next week. You're going to see one the week after that. And I don't think anybody's going to care about the 10-year yield. And they're going to see these trade deals and they're going to forget about the market because we didn't have a 23% Black Monday plunge like Jim Cramer was telling everybody.
Unlike most of the things that can sway public opinion, this is a metric that can change very quickly because and it's grounded on emotion. And your fear of losing money is immediate, and your fear of making money is immediate, or happy with making money is immediate. And as people see their 401k, oh, we're actually going to be okay, and that's going to turn things around. I firmly believe that because I've seen it. I've talked to people who were upset and were worried. How do you measure that? How do you measure the emotional part of what's going on? Or do you?
Well, I mean, I think we're literally seeing it. I don't know if we've talked about this on your show, but there's something called a response bias, and people have different definitions for it. But essentially it means, well, what I'm trying to poll on is whether people change their minds. And the best way to do that is just poll a whole bunch of people and see, because if you're going to build a panel and just ask those same people over and over again, out of like 50,000 people, very few people are going to change their minds. It's a really tough signal to pick up, right? And so I think people change their minds about Trump, becoming a conservative, going all in on MAGA. When people do it individually, it's fast, usually, but like in mass, it's a slow process that's been happening over the last 10 years, right? But what happens is people get pissed off and all of a sudden they're like, well, I'm going to answer the poll today because I got a piece of my mind. And I think that's what drives a lot of the public opinion swings here. Again, I think Trump's going to pick back up next week, and it's because those people said got it off their chests, right? And they're going to go back to, you could say, well, then you're not really measuring public opinion. But it's like, well, yeah, I am, because if we had the election today, it would go worse for Trump than if we had it last week.
Right, exactly.
So the question is, it's like, do you approve of Trump today? If we were to have a 2024 or 2028 matchup today, and you'd get a lot of pissed off people out there in the polls because Donald Trump's burned the stock market down, according to Jim Cramer, right? And so I think that shows emotion. But like, again, we've measured that people think there's violence, that they think the other party is domestic enemies. We measured that only 30% trust the federal government. It's like how many? A million. Wait, like that's what we've been doing, is trying to capture exactly how pissed off Americans were. But if you want to know how pissed off they are, China. I don't think this is public yet, so I guess we're breaking this here.
Okay.
US CIA has concluded that COVID-19 virus probably originated in a Chinese research laboratory rather than developing in nature. How confident are you that the CIA is correct? 2/3 of Americans are confident, 66%, 42% vary. Then, how likely is it that COVID-19 virus was deliberately released by China as a way to attack the United States? 48% say likely, 45% say not likely. So a plurality say, yeah, China did it on purpose to attack us. And here you have like Walmart and Amazon probably calling the administration to beg to like take these things because 71% of their SKU. You know what I mean? It's just like completely different world. Like the globalists want their cheap Chinese crap back, and Americans are like, no, we don't like what America has become.
Do you ever do any numbers on the deportations?
Oh, yeah. Oh, overwhelmingly. Let me try, while I'm rattling these off, let me try and go back 10 years to see how much they've changed over time. But we've asked this so many different ways. Is the government doing too much or not enough to stop illegal immigration and visa overstays? 15% too much, 60% too little, over and over again. It's like 4-1. We've been tracking that question for a really long time. Remember, this is like Donald Trump's president. I mean, like you obviously remember, Donald Trump's presidency started being called racist for wanting to build a wall. And, you know, I think back then a lot of that stuff kind of stuck.
Right.
If you were given the choice between 100% amnesty candidate or 100% deportation candidate, which would you pick? 100% deportation wins 55-35 in like every single battleground state. And then I'd like with 3 different question sets. We've used like mass deportation. We've used, and you get a number north of 60% every time now, every single time. So it's like that's an economic signal. That's jobs. That's housing. That's the price of goods. And over again, over the last year, those numbers have just been off the chart. All right, I found it. 2015. We're discovering this together. Oh, I got logged out of our own website. Let's see how bad it is. I wonder if it'll be less, or if this was always what the plan was. But I mean, that's way more popular than Trump. Even not that long ago, they're like, oh, it's so mean. Oh, it's racist. It's like, no, people are begging for this.
It's weird because Harry at CNN and the other people must see these numbers very similar. Yet when she goes into a press conference and they keep bitching about this guy who got deported, and for the numbers that you're finding, and it seems like it's been that way for quite some time, the American people actually want to see these things happen. I don't know how they could have such a big disconnect. It's like they're ignoring the actual data.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So like the sentiment was strong back in 2015 too. This is actually, what day did Trump come down the escalator? What day was that? Do you remember? Was it in June?
I don't remember. No, don't remember that.
I think this is like a month and a half after that. Is the U.S. government too aggressive or not aggressive enough in deporting those who are in this country illegally? Too aggressive, 12%. Not aggressive enough, 60%, 5-1. And then should illegal immigrants who have American-born children be exempt from deportations? 53% no to 29% yes. So yeah, like people are like, get them out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
How can they be so maybe that's why they're so upside down in the media and their ratings and everything else. So when you start polling the Democrats versus Republican, did you find the same thing, the number everyone's been saying in basically 21 to 25 is where the Democrats are right now?
Oh, no. That's a new yeah, exactly. That was a head scratcher to me. our methodology is a little bit different. We still get a lot of older people. A lot of these pollsters have gone to either proprietary panels or like online only ones that are tech enabled or younger people. And so there was, and maybe it's response bias, but they came out with that 29% Democratic Party approval. And I think NBC had that and was like, oh, the lowest in their ratings. About a week before that, we put ours out and it was 44%, I think, 44%.
Wow.
So I'm going with my number, and here's why. It's that the Democrats are demoralized right now. And they are broken, and they're having, in my opinion, an ideological civil war. But they didn't disappear.
Right.
They are still out there. And they're also, as we've seen how quickly they cozied up to Kamala Harris, they're very willing to trust their party. And so I think my number's right. And again, that puts the Republicans at a 6-point higher favorability rating, which I think is about correct for where we're at. But I just did a poll on Stephen A. Smith, and it's pretty eye-popping. In a 2028 general with J.D. Vance, he only trails by 4 points.
Oh my God!
So there's a reality that when Trump is no.
I was going to talk about him tonight, so I'll have to clip this. So he's at what was that number?
This is one of my favorite polls. We just polled on Stephen A. Smith, and it was stunning. And I did it for Pablo Torres. Find out it's sponsored, so you can go to RasmussenReports.com. Everybody watching this can download it for free. We asked a whole bunch of questions there. So we did primaries and general head-to-heads. And Stephen A. Smith, keep in mind, people like him because he's an entertainer, but a lot of people don't know him. So from a favorability rating, 45% said not sure. They just don't know who this guy is at all. And because Americans are agreeable, they don't say I have an unfavorable opinion if they don't know him. He was very positive, like net 13, I think it was, like really high favorability. But he, like essentially an enigma. People like really didn't know who he was. In a Democrat primary, he trails Kamala Harris by only 21 points, and he only trails Gavin Newsom by 3 and AOC by 4. And so she has one of the biggest social influencer footprints of any Democrat. Kamala Harris just had $3 billion in free press. Like, so he does really well. And so that, to me, is signs that Democrat voters are desperate for an outsider because they don't think the party can fix itself. But then in a head-to-head, 38% J.D. Vance, 34% Stephen A. Smith. Now, a whole ton of caveats. It's super far out. It's a lot could happen between now and then. So many people said not sure. It's because they were holding out for another candidate. They'll probably break one way or the other. But the Republicans could easily lose 2028 if they don't do better, in my opinion, of internalizing the MAGA agenda. And as we all know, with the rhinos everywhere, it's a tall order. And then I'll tell you, he's a pretty big. He's not a spoiler, but he gets 11% if he runs as a third party. So maybe he'll pull RFK on the Democrats. I don't know.
Wow. So what about have you polled the darlings of the party, the Bernie and AOC together as a ticket, or is it still Kamala's race to run for the Democrats?
In my opinion, it's still a little too early to do matchups just because there's so much happening politically, and J.D. Vance hasn't been in office that long. And I would like to see. The other thing is that Kamala Harris, all the boost she got is starting to bit by bit wear off as well. And so we were probably going to wait maybe till the summer to do our first matchups, but we asked Democrats like who you like, and the problem is that Kamala Harris still wins. 40%, I think 41% support among Democrats. Everybody else was 12 points or below. Shapiro, everybody's like, oh, he's so great, he's so moderate. Shapiro's awesome. He gets like 12 points to Kamala Harris's 40. Whitmer and AOC are in upper single digits. Newsom was only doing 10, 11, something like that. So she's the front runner.
Wow. Have you ever done a poll in regards to how many people in this country really, really want to see socialism, Marxism, communism? I'd love to know that number because it just seems like that's their platform, but I don't know how many people actually favor that.
We've tried So many different. I'll try and pull a couple of them up. But one of the big ones is that a lot of people don't know necessarily like what those isms mean. And so from the fall, we asked, I'm trying to remember how we worded the question, but we asked across all the swing states, who do you trust more on the issue of the economy, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? And it's like a tight race. So it's like whether they like socialism or not, they might vote for a socialist candidate because they don't know what they're talking about and they're just doing identity politics or whatever, right? Okay, so what do we got? So this is from 2023. I should remember these. I'm going to bookmark this. Thank you for bringing it up. Which of the following best describes the U.S. economy today? Only 27% say free market. 37% say partially free market. Smart. They're the right ones, right? 20% say partially socialist, and 8% say generally socialist. And Democrats are more likely to think that we have free market economy right now, which I think is funny.
That's really
38% for them. Yeah, only 20% of Republicans think we have a free market economy. Which is a better system, capitalism or socialism? Capitalism wins 67-17.
Okay. Then.
But 16% are not sure. Women are a few points more socialist. This 18. So now I suspect this one will maybe have changed quite a bit in the last 2 years, but 18 to 39-year-olds, 45% say capitalism, 34% say socialism. So that's a problem.
Wow.
I wish I had it by age and gender. Democrats, 58% capitalism, Republicans, 81% capitalism. So only 26% of Democrats actually say that socialism is better. But the problem is it's every single one of their leaders is like doubling down on it. Or even liberals, only 33% socialist.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah, pretty wild.
But with this, the thing you said, though, is most people don't know what it is, and I think that's where the messaging has to be better for some of these people in politics, because you're hearing that so often. It's a messaging, and you would think with all the dollars and all the consultants and all the polling out there, people would understand. Get your act together and communicate to the people. Mark, President Trump's getting ready to come out with the Ohio State thing. So can you let everybody know what your schedule is and when your show comes on? Because Mark gets a short amount of time, and he and I talk, but he's got an entire show. Is it every night you do it?
We do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 o'clock. Usually, sometimes we go early if there's like an interview or something like that. And we usually we do a pretty good time. It's about 45 minutes content, and then we do Q&A, and sometimes we just chat. You brought up I had to see, it's pretty hilarious, this one number that it shows exactly the problem. So Democrats say capitalism is better, 58% to 26%, but then would you vote for a candidate who supported socialism? And almost half of Democrats say, oh yeah, sure. Like, yeah, I mean, sure. So they just want to win. They don't care. Like, that's what it comes down to. It's like, I'll support a candidate that has a substandard view of the economy. I don't know. So yeah, Rasmussen _poll, and I'm at Honest Pollster, and we're going to go live tonight and talk more about the approval stuff. So hope to see folks there.
All right, Mark, thank you very much for coming on, everybody. That's Mark Mitchell, as you can see, at Honest Pollster on X. Most of you guys probably already follow him, but if you don't, just jump over there. Mark, thanks for your time. But by the way, how often do you poll? I mean, that's another thing. In terms of like knowing how often these numbers come out.
Well, sometimes we do standalones, but we're doing 5 nights a week, Sunday through Thursday, and we put new questions into the field every 3 days, and then just break them up and put them out in the stories. So we usually run 1 to 2 stories a day, and so people can get those at rasmussenreports.com. And we need help because establishment Republicans don't want to pay for polling. They want to spend all their money on the big consulting game, if you know what I mean.
When they say they have internal polls, who's doing these so-called internal polls?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is where 95% of the money in the industry goes. Ron DeSantis paid a pollster $8 million for his campaign to try and take down Trump. And I think it's like, well, if you look at every rhino that's getting primaried right now, I doubt between all of them there's $8 million of money.
Wow, that's incredible. Oh, yeah. Last question. I did have one more question, because every time I see controversy, I think, what do people really think? have you done anything yet on Real ID, or is that just something you're going to be doing, upcoming?
Oh man. Oh no, we want to put it in the field next week. That's a sleeper. There's the world's blowing up. We didn't have room for it, but yeah, we want
funny.
to.
Every time I see one of these things happen, I'm like, I wonder if Mark's got any data. I'll go to your X feed to see if you've posted anything, because it's like boom, it just shows up, and you know what's really funny?
I'm sure we have something from the. Yeah, we probably have something from the last time they tried the Mark of the Beast, but I don't know. So
Mark of the Beast. I live in Florida. We've had it for a long time. I didn't even know, because when it said that you needed the Real ID to travel, I'm like, Robin, we're gonna have to go get this Real ID. She's like, we already have it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And didn't realize when we renewed our license, it's already there. So we're good.
Yeah.
all these things.
The closest is we asked about the vaccine passport, and 44% said good idea, 41% said bad idea. That's the last time we asked about something closest. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right, Mark, thank you for your time. Every time I see one of these controversial things, I'll hit you up on X. Let's see if we can get some information.
Well, just DM me if you ever think of any questions y'all want to run, and I'll stick them in.
All right, great, brother. Thank you very much. All right, you guys, that's Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports, and you saw his X handle is The Honest Pollster. Love his numbers. His numbers are quite accurate. While I'm waiting for President Trump to come out and talk to, he's going to be celebrating the Ohio State Buckeyes. I hate the Buckeyes, being a Notre Dame fan, but nonetheless, they took care of business. And before we close out today, we'll go ahead and show this celebration that they're having on the White House lawn. He has not walked out yet. As soon as he walks out, we'll go ahead and take that live, courtesy of RSBN. In the interim, I did check the Dow Jones. We're looking at right now. Let's see what's today look like. Today we're up almost 500. Let me look at the gold price today. Gold is down 19.20. Things are fluctuating, moving around. In any event, if you have a chance and you want to go ahead and help yourself from this volatility in the market, you may want to look at some gold and silver. As you know, President Trump has assembled the Avengers to make America great again. And of course, we're all excited and ready to see them get to work. But with everything we're seeing right now, don't take your eye off the ball. Things could get much worse before they get better. With the possibility of World War III still looming, and with the Democrats doing everything they can to impede Trump, you still need to keep your guard up and your money protected. Oh, and our national debt is still massively increasing. Don't get me wrong, I have high hopes for Trump's America, but I also have a family to look out for. You see, Trump and the Avengers have quite the uphill battle ahead. That's why I'm making sure I'm protected, and I'm recommending that you do the same. One way to be protected is by diversifying your portfolio. That's why on this channel I've been happy to partner with Lear Capital. As you know, I've been involved in real estate for quite some time. And although I dabbled in gold and silver, Kevin and his staff at Lear have helped to educate me even further, especially in regards to silver. Give Lear a call today and they'll show you how easy it is to move some of your savings or your retirement account into gold and silver. Gold and silver have been proven to hold value and protect wealth for the long term. Call Lear today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com to get your free gold and silver wealth protection guides. There's no obligation, just free information. Many of you have seen my interviews with Lear founder Kevin Demerit, and I can tell you this company is solid and likes to educate their customers. Just so you know, Lear has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $3 billion in trusted transactions, and is the only company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. And when you call, don't forget to ask how you can get up to $15,000 in bonus gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. So if you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity, please call my friends at Lear Capital at 800-601-5430 and tell them Barry sent you. All right, everybody, just waiting for President Trump to walk out. Looks like it's a beautiful day in Washington, just waiting for him to come out and greet this team. Good crowd on hand as well, so this might be a nice little event, even if you don't like football. To me, one of the things I like about these things, it's personable. You're seeing President Trump in a different environment completely than normal. I'm wondering if the president of El Salvador is going to come out and greet these guys, and perfect timing. Here comes the team, and President Trump will make his what do you call it? His presence in a second. Let me go ahead and cut to this real quick so you guys can see this.
United States, and Ryan Day, head coach of the Ohio State University Buckeyes.
That's a good-looking group behind me. And they're big. We're not going to get into any fights with them, I can guarantee you that. So I want to just congratulate everybody. Coach, you have done some job, man. But today is my great honor to welcome the 2024 College Football National Champions, the Ohio State University Buckeyes. And it turns out January 20th was a big day for all of us. That's true. That was a big day. I love that day. We'll never forget that day. To Ohio State President Ted Carter. Ted, where is Ted? Ted, congratulations. Good job, Ted. Wow. Athletic Director Ross Bjork. Ross, where's Ross? Hi, Ross. Congratulations. Did you know they were this good? Hi, Ross. Congratulations. Did you know they were this good? He said, absolutely. That's a good answer. The coach Ryan Day, who, and I have to read this because this is not part of it, but they gave me a little briefing. I knew how good a coach. I didn't know he was that good. It's Ryan Day, head coach at the Ohio State University. So here's just a little summary. Ryan was named head coach in December 2018. Think of this. First of all, he's a very young-looking guy. He's got a lot of time left. In his 6 seasons as head coach, Day has led the team to 9 championship wins. You don't do that. He's currently the only coach to lead his team to the college football playoffs 4 times since 2019, and his first season as head coach. And Coach Day's overall coaching record 70-10. So in other words, Ryan, I'd like to be your agent. I want to represent you. And he won the big one, right? He won the big one. That's the biggest of them all. That's fantastic. Let me have your hand here. It's an amazing achievement at a young age, and the entire team and everybody up here, we want to thank you and congratulate you, because this building behind you, there's nothing like it. I have a lot of buildings. This is the one. This one you can't beat. The White House. And I think, the coach was all excited about it. I threw it out just hoping that it wouldn't be a big deal. I said, Coach, afterwards, if you'd like, but only if you'd like, don't worry about it. We could take the team down to the Oval Office and show them what the Oval Office is, because it is spectacular. And I don't know if the floor can withstand it. That's the only question. But we're going to do that. And, I've done some Trump touches to the Oval Office. It's a little nicer than it used to be, I think. And most people, a lot nicer. You're right about that. No, it's special. Everything begins, ends, and re-begins at the Oval Office. And so we're going to take the team down there right when we're finished, okay? If anyone doesn't want to go, that would be okay. Who's going? Everybody? Okay. Okay. We look forward to it. Also with us are many Ohio State fans from my administration, and the biggest of them all, of course, is our Vice President, who's been fantastic, a faithful Buckeye alum, J.D. Vance. JD, he's something. But he was such a good student, he didn't stay there for 4 years. He got out in 2 years, #1 in his class. How do you do that? Do you have any better students than that? Better football players, yes. I don't know. But JD's doing a great job. Thanks as well to Secretary of State Marco Rubio for being here. Marco, you're doing incredible. Thank you. As well as Representatives Warren Davidson and Mike Carey. Fellas, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Governor Mike DeWine. Mike, where are you? Hi, Mike. Doing a great job. Attorney General Dave Yost. Dave, congratulations on everything. Secretary of State Frank LaRose. Frank, thank you, Frank. Mayor Trent Conaway. I love Trent Conaway. Where's Trent Conaway? Where are you, Trent? Look at him, that guy from East Palestine. I think, you're the reason they say that was, I visited and Biden didn't. And when I went there, and I went there right after the problem, right? And I met Trent, and I love Trent. But a lot of people give you a lot of credit for the success that we've had, because we won in a huge stampede, in a landslide. And I want to thank you. And you've been a great mayor, and you went through a lot. And we took care of you. We helped, and other people didn't. But you were a big stop in the first one, so thank you for being here. It's good to see you again. Thank you very much. Really nice. And, of course, the Ohio State legend. He's a current Lieutenant Governor, Jim Tressel. Jim, thank you. Where's Jim? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. He is a legend. Thanks also to my friends J.J. Cafaro and the Schottenstein family. They're here somewhere. There they are. Hi, fellas. Good to have you. This was a historic year in college football, standing together today. These men in the first college, think of that, are the first college football players in history who can proudly call themselves 12-team playoff champions. You're the first ones, that's right. You had to go through a lot. That's not easy. You're the first ones. Congratulations, Coach. This team showed the world that the road to greatness is paved by hard work, sweat, and often a great deal of adversity. They had a lot of adversity because I shouldn't say this. I actually said, should I leave this line out? And they said, sir, they're saying, yes, leave it. Sir, they want to hear the whole thing, the bad and the good, right? But many people counted you out, as you know, after the losses against Oregon, which is a great team, and that team up north. We won't talk about it. But you refused. But you refused to let the Buckeye Nation down. You got better and better and tougher as the season went along. And after a very strong regular season, but with adversity, you held a closed-door players-only meeting. This extraordinary group rallied together for a single glorious mission to win 4 straight playoff games against the finest teams in college football. And you were able to do it, obviously. In the first playoff game, Tennessee quarterback Will Howard scorched the Volunteer defense. I watched that game. I said, that guy is good. Defense for 311 yards and completed 24 of 29 passes. Known for his accuracy, strong arm, but boy, is he known for his accuracy. Where is Will? I want to see this guy. You are fantastic. Oh, he's going to be so rich. Think of that. To look like that and to play, it's a good combination. But Will went on to set an all-time college football playoff record with 1,150 yards passing. That's an incredible thing. Great to meet you. I'm going to be watching you for a long time, I think, okay? We'll be watching him for about 15 years, maybe longer. The next game was a chance at redemption against the top-ranked Oregon Ducks, which was a tough team. It was a total team effort by Ohio State. In the first half, the Buckeyes built an insurmountable 34-point lead thanks to the scores from veteran playmaker Tavion. Oh, man, get up, man. You think I could beat him in a race? I don't know. Great going. And Ohio State, and also your receptions leader, Emeka Ibuka. Where is he? Look at this guy. Congratulations, fellas. How important were they to you? You said bowl, and that Texas was pretty much rated the #1 team at the beginning of the season, right? So that was a tough team. I know that. It was neck and neck late in the fourth quarter. Texas was down a score, but marching in the red zone with 2 minutes left on the 4th and 8 with 2:29 on the clock. Hometown legend Jack Sawyer. Boy, that's a good name. Jack Sawyer. It sounds like the name of a legend, right? A son of Columbus. We won Columbus by a lot of points. I like it, too. Gave the world an all-time great Ohio State football moment. Most of you know what I'm talking about. In one amazing play, Jack exploded off the line, strip-sacked the quarterback, which is not easy to do, scooped the fumble recovery, scored an 83-yard touchdown return, and punched Ohio State's ticket to the championship game. Yeah, it's a hell of a thing. You mean you took the ball out of the quarterback's hand? I don't want to say this. I don't want to make. How do you think that other team feels? Not too good. That's one of those disasters for another team, right? Oh, that quarterback doesn't feel good. Where is he? I want to see this guy.
Phenomenal.
Are you that fast?
I have some great blockers.
That's unbelievable, actually. Size of these guys. I used to think I was quite a big fellow, not so much anymore. But he later said that it was the best feeling he'd ever felt. Are you sure about that, Jack? I don't know about that. As he gets older, who knows? But I don't think he's ever going to forget it. And Jack, you earned it, and congrats. That's really special. So that's, you thought that game, it was maybe over, Coach? What do you think? That's what I felt like. You felt like it was going to. That's why he's a good coach. He felt he was going to win. That was pretty amazing. That was, and the other team was tough, right? Will they be good again this season? Oh, you have the first game with them. Wow, that's tough. And a lot of your players are coming back, but quite a few great ones are leaving, right? How do you feel about to the NFL? That's the good thing about every one of them goes. How do you feel about the season?
That's going to be exciting.
Going to be good.
We're going to miss some of these guys.
Yeah. I'll bet you're going to do great. But the Buckeyes have defied the critics, but the job just wasn't finished. This tremendous team needed one more win for the ultimate victory, the national championship game against Notre Dame. Offensive MVP Will Howard led the charge again, completing 14 of his first 15 passes. I'm telling you, the guy has an accurate arm. How many times do I have to tell you that? Quinshon Judkins reached the end zone 3 times. Where the hell is he? Three times, defensive MVP Cody Simon stuffed the Fighting Irish rushing attack. Where's Cody? You notice the way they're sitting in like a little trench? I didn't want them at the same level. Actually, it was really, but I feel very good about that, JD, right?
Yes, sir.
Keep them down a little bit. But offensive MVP Will Howard led that charge, and really these people are going places that going to be very exciting in the future. We're going to be watching them all on Sundays and for a long time to come, I believe. Many of the people behind us. But Cody Simon, that was a very important deal, and Buckeye star Jeremiah Smith pulled down the unforgettable deep ball on 3rd and 11 to clinch the championship. Where's Jeremiah? Oh. I shouldn't say this, but the coach was giving Jeremiah some major praise backstage. I said, so what's the future? He said, well, we have a guy, he may be the best ever. That's a lot to think about, Jeremiah. Just be real good. Don't be Jerry Rice, right? Who's your favorite? Jerry Rice? Yeah, Jerry Rice is a great guy, too. But Jeremiah was the only freshman that was just at a level that few people have ever seen before, according to what I hear. And nobody could stop him all year long, even as a freshman. And let's not forget the resilient offensive line that helped Will achieve this record-breaking season. Get ready, fellas. Come on up here. Josh Fryer, Luke Montgomery, Carson Heinzman, Tegra Shabola, Austin Saraveld, and Donovan Jackson stepped up when you needed him most, and they protected this valuable quarterback.
I'm going to switch camera angles so you can see how big these guys are. They make President Trump look small.
It's nice when they can say, yeah, we're going to the NFL with other people saying, I think I can make it. You're going early from what I hear. Good luck. Good luck in the NFL. I'm saying, I'm looking at him. What's he doing?
I'm short compared to these guys, sir.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you all.
That's so important. The line is so important. We have you have no idea. I've seen teams that were great, but they didn't have the offensive line, and it just doesn't work out, right, Will? You beat the Fighting Irish that day, 34-23, and for the first time in 10 years, proudly claimed the title of the great state of Ohio, the great state. I love that state. We won that state in a landslide, Governor. We won it in a landslide. I love Ohio. We'll never let you down, I swear, I promise. And if I let you down, he won't, okay? So you have a backup. But I do love the place. And so today I'm honored to call the Ohio State University Buckeyes national champions. You're the national champions, and you're standing right here at the White House. And it's a proud day for all of us, but it's a proud day for the Scarlet and Gray. Congratulations once again. And Coach, you are a fantastic person. I got to know him just a little bit back there, and I realized almost immediately that he's really a special guy. And to your wife and your three beautiful children, congratulations. And I'm going to ask JD to say a couple of words. It's an honor to have everybody at the White House. You are a very special group from a special state, the state of Ohio. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to Coach Day and the entire team for being here at the White House. I'm so proud to be part of Team Scarlet and Gray today. Congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes on a hell of a 2024 season. Now, I want to say just a couple of words about this team because they really helped make, sir, an incredible year even better for this very proud Ohio State alum. So two things. First of all, I made a bet with Ted Cruz over the Texas game, a bet that he is still not paid up on, Ted Cruz, if you're watching on TV. And I don't like losing any bet, but I really don't want to lose a bet to Ted Cruz. So thank you all for helping me win that bet against Ted Cruz. And the second thing, I asked the president on January the 20th, I said, sir, would you mind if I skipped that final inaugural ball to go to the Ohio State National Championship game? And the president said, no, but we'll have him at the White House. So here we are celebrating that national title. And I just want to say I'm proud of you guys. You guys were resilient. You were tough. You represented the state of Ohio well, and you represented the whole country well. And the last thing that I'll say is I don't know who let the guy over in the corner here in a Michigan hat into this celebration, but I'm about to tell the Secret Service you've got a dangerous weapon, sir. But I just want to say, proud of this team, Mr. President. Thank you for hosting, and thanks to the whole state of Ohio for showing up and cheering for our Buckeyes. God bless you guys.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and other distinguished guests, on behalf of The Ohio State University, the Department of Athletics, thank you for inviting the National Championship Ohio State Buckeyes to the White House this afternoon. I'd like to thank Ohio State President Ted Carter, members of the Ohio delegation here with us today, Governor DeWine, Lieutenant Governor Tressel, Athletics Director Ross Bjork, and all the staff members for their work and efforts to make this trip to the White House a reality. We're honored and humbled to be here, celebrating with you our 9th national championship in our great university's history. To be here surrounded by our players, staff, university leadership is a moment we'll never forget. Traveling to D.C., though, was the easy part. Earning the right to be here was the hard one. This team made history by winning the most difficult series of games in the history of college football, defeating number 7, Tennessee, number 1, Oregon in the Rose Bowl, number 3, Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and number 5, Notre Dame in the national championship. Back to back to back to back. No team's ever done that. No team's ever done that. And through discipline and execution, this team dominated, finished the mission, and left no doubt. It all started with a group of 4th and 5th year seniors. They chose each other. They chose Ohio State, and they built and lived a culture of brotherhood, toughness, and love. When adversity hit, they stood tall, stuck together, showed their true character, rose to the occasion, and became champions. There's a quote I love from President Roosevelt, displayed proudly in our team room, the man in the arena. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. who strives valiantly, comes up short again and again, but who does actually strive to do the deeds. This quote reminds us of the true honor that belongs to those who rise to the challenge and stand in the arena unwavered. It took every challenge, and we responded with heart, with grit, and with determination. That's why this moment means so much to us. Our families, thank you so much for your love and your support along the way. To our coaches, thank you for your hard work and for your leadership. And to our players, thank you for everything. Your story will forever be told. And Mr. President, thank you again for this incredible honor. God bless America and go Bucks. All right. We have some really nice gifts that we're going to have our captains give Mr. President, Mr. Vice President.
Have to cut the music because, as you guys know, that is from Queen. And that is obviously... Oh, he just dropped the national championship trophy. Oh, my God. Oh. J.D. Vance just dropped the national championship trophy. Oh gosh, I cannot believe that J.D. Vance just dropped the national championship trophy. Oh, that's too funny. Oh, that's too funny. And then they cut it. Oh boy. Oh, he dropped the national champ. Oh, my dog is back. Everything's here. Oh, I'm sure he'll replace it, but it was just kind of humorous. And you know what? Those guys are never going to forget that day. The rest of their lives, they will know they were at the White House and they got to meet the president, especially some of the stars that got to come up. That one black young gentleman with the glass shades or whatever, Jeremiah, is a freshman. Just remember that, because this kid is going to be an amazing player. Some of you guys who don't watch football, but I mean, he topped out. They did this scientific thing where he ran 23 miles an hour. That's moving. That's some serious moving. J.D. Vance has a new nickname. It's Mr. Butterfingers. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe I can't believe it. Yeah, and it broke. He broke the trophy. Oh gosh, that's funny. Somebody goes, what's going to piss people off is that the media will use that against, oh yeah, the black people didn't really want to be there. They made them come. Yeah, they'll say something stupid like that, something idiotic, completely idiotic, but crazy. All right, so that's a great way to end the show. I love that. It's a pick me up. It's nothing negative. It's fully positive. Everybody can celebrate at that point. President Trump did a great job after that Oval Office debacle with CNN. I can't wait to cut up their stuff and show it to you tonight. Hopefully they've got some response. I'm pretty sure they will. So I'm going to go live at 7:30 tonight. Hold on. Hey, if you'd like to join 15,000 plus fellow patriots on X in our private X/Twitter group, go to fanfareshop.org/group. Just put in that URL in your browser. It'll take you right to our private group on X. Love to see you there. Let's share some content. And if you'd like to win a hoodie, or rather if you'd like to enter to win a hoodie. Okay, so we're not doing hoodies anymore. We are indeed doing the t-shirts tonight. With everything goes okay tonight, I'm going to have to make sure I cross my fingers and everything else that the page is up and ready to go. But I'm trying to get that done for tonight to go ahead and have that ready so we can start getting that back together. And then tomorrow, once I get the hoodie page done, then we'll get the page done to enter for the free trip down here to South Florida. So we got two big things coming up. Actually, three big things. We have the prayer night on Thursday, and then we're going to start giving away t-shirts, and we're going to give away a trip for two down here to South Florida. Yep. Just come on down. That's what it's going to be. All right, so let's go here. Where am I so I can make sure that this is in here? Bingo. All right. Suzanne Brooke, thank you very much. Mac Quintella, hey, Barry, did you get my email for the National Lottery Fund? No, I did not, but I shall check. Donna says, Bukele is hot. I don't know. I can't touch it, but I'll take your word for it. Barry, it's pronounced Bukele. Bukele. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Stephanie Thomas, Caitlin Collins is not the brightest tool in the shed. Nope, and she got roasted. George Rivera, Bondi set the spike, Miller took a sledge to it and buried it deep. That's a great analogy. She said it, bam, he came in. Good analogy. Donna, Trump only lets Caitlin in so he can harass her. Bukele was laughing. I didn't know they knew each other for so long. It's no wonder he's helping us. Well, there should be no more discussion about that guy who got deported, but I'm sure there will be. Fazul, Pam with the press. A bit more succinct in their eye, and I think she'd do fine. Great for us in Florida. She was exceptional down here. They all work on themselves. Granny sees it. This might help, Barry. Bukele is his name. Jonas, I love Pam, but she talks, reminds me of kindergarten teacher scolding me for spilling my milk. God bless America. Great handle for this week. DJT needs to turn de-immigration over to Army to avoid the judges altogether. That might be coming. Petrost, very likely the cartel is paying these news medias. Something's going on because it's pretty crazy. Jen E., I feel Pam is fighting an uphill battle she knew but wasn't fully expecting extensiveness. All the loonies, corruption, sabotage down here, she didn't have that BS. You're absolutely right. Market reality, okay, DJT wants interest rates to go down. Normally he would get the Fed to print and dump dollars into the economy. Instead, China is dumping dollars. Yep, and a lot of people don't understand what's happening. Ernest Spencer, Dems running Stephen A. Smith, that much different than Tampon Tip. Tonight, I'm going to tell you even more about Stephen A. Smith, and I'm probably going to tell you what's really going on. So some of you guys the only reason why some of you at this point would even care about Stephen A. Smith is because on the horizon, he may end up trying to run or something, you think. Jeanette, sorry, Barry, live in sunny South Carolina or South California, but once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. Go Bucks. Okay. Buddy Sanders, great show. Thank you. There was one earlier that was Buddy. And then, of course, earlier, once you guys want to recognize him again, Mike Patel, thank you very, very, very much. Mike Patel did that before we even turned on. And it was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. What did Ashley say? Thanks, Mike. We appreciate your support. Are you ready for this crazy? Oh, okay. That was amazing. Very amazing. And like I said, we know we're going to have to get a lot of Bibles out this week. So that's going to help a lot. So it is now 3:53, 7:30. Is going to be the time when we go live tonight with all the reaction to everything that happened today. Thank you all for tuning in. I didn't even get to the second half of the videos that I had because we'd be here for 4 hours. But I'll wait and show that to you tonight. All right. See you tonight, 7:30. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. There's some stuff in here. Wait a minute. I forgot to add on. Some of the times I forget to do these things, and SV has always got so much stuff for me. So wait a minute. I want to make sure that you guys know this. Maybe some of you do, maybe some of you don't. This is pretty important. Okay, so let me just share this with you. Benny reported earlier there was a 6.7 magnitude earthquake that hit San Diego area. So, 6.7. I'm not really sure what they consider a strong earthquake. I mean, me personally, any earthquake would be strong. It's great. That would be scary stuff. The FBI, and this is also something, the FBI has arrested this guy. Anyone surprised? That's the guy who just got arrested. I don't know what's on his lips. I don't even care to really know what this dude has on his lips, but it says the FBI has arrested an individual they allege is responsible for the February Tesla terror attacks. They are seeking up to 40 years in prison with no negotiations. That guy. Why is it they always look like this? Why is it that these people don't look normal? I don't get it. Maybe because the stuff that they do isn't normal. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just constantly these people that I have to be so delicate around here to make sure I don't say the wrong thing, but something wrong. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they said the guy who did that stuff to Josh Shapiro's house was, but that will disappear because, again, they were hoping it was MAGA, and it wasn't. It was one of them, again. If you guys ever follow Margot Cleveland is a very good follow. You may want to follow her. She digs into the court cases. I'm not sure if she's a lawyer or if she's a former paralegal or whatever, but she always digs into these cases. This is her page. Margot Cleveland looks at senior legal correspondent for the Federalist. But she always covers the court cases, and it's weird because they're still going on with thinking they're going to get this guy back. I'm looking at this from 31 minutes ago. She posted this. I was out of the pocket most of the day, but looks like J-Town had it covered with spot-on detail. This is this guy. Caitlin Collins thought she might get somewhere with her slanted question. Like usual, she failed miserably. And then Margot followed up. I must say, Garcia's attorneys will pounce on comments. Look, El Salvador's president concern was only about releasing him to El Salvador or how to get him back into the U.S., but all El Salvador president needs to do is release the Trump who will return to the U.S. Give it up, people. This guy's not coming back. And they're going to keep going in the court system and wasting time and wasting money to what end? I don't even know why you're still doing it. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It pisses me off. Point blank. No, you're not getting him. No, he's never coming back. Stop asking. And when you see what she wrote, this is what they're going to pounce on. The fact that they're going to pounce on, his lawyers are going to say, look, El Salvador president concern was only about releasing him. All you got to do is ask him. I don't want to ask him. Get over it. We don't want him. You can't make the president of the United States beg this guy from another country. Please, can you give us back this guy? They don't get it. They're going to keep complaining over and over and over. I had seen something I wanted to show you. Let me get back here to where it was. Come on, where was it? Because this was, okay, it was this. So, Stephen Miller, who you heard talk, he's not, Politico writes, El Salvador won't return wrongly deported Maryland man. No, he's not a wrongly deported, and they're not going to return him. The media just won't stop. Stephen Miller, he's not a, quote, Maryland man. He's a, you-know-what, MS-13 terrorist. The corporate media wants so badly for our country to be flooded with foreign criminals. And the reason it happens because this is what happens in these comments. No, he isn't. You should be in prison. Then prove it. What's so hard about that? Stop. The left is crazy. crazy with anger over this criminal. No, he's not. Prove it. He, you know what? I was gonna sign off, but you know what? I made the video, so I'm gonna show this to you. Those of you who are still here, you're gonna hear what Stephen Miller said, and hopefully, you know, it's a little bit. I just want you to hear what Stephen Miller says right here. Let me just see if I can find this piece. Okay, right here. He got into a little bit of a tiff with Bill Hammer from Fox this morning. Listen to what he said on Fox this morning, trying to explain to these people, shut up.
Mr. President, can you comment on the FTC?
Number one, DOJ said a federal court cannot compel the executive branch to engage in any mandated act of diplomacy or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case, clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So he appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article 2 foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay,
Secondly,
I appreciate
he was
the
not, no, Bill's
clarification,
important.
that's the case.
He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's an
believe
illegal
he is a
alien
member of
from
MS?
El Salvador. Hold on, this is important. In 2019, he was ordered deported. He is a final removal order from the United States. These are things that no one disputes. Where is he from? El Salvador. Where is he a resident and citizen of? El Salvador. Is he here illegally? Yes. Does he have a deportation order? Yes. A DOJ lawyer who has since been relieved of duty, a saboteur, a Democrat, put into a filing incorrectly that this was a mistaken removal. It was not. This was the right person sent to the right place. Now, some have said, well, but he had a thing called a withholding order. So a withholding order means you've been ordered deported, but an immigration judge is saying you cannot go back to a particular country. Here's the thing. If you are a member of a foreign terrorist organization, you cannot have a withholding order. Since he's in MS-13, there is no withholding order. Furthermore, the gang that he is accused of being persecuted by doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. The 18th Street gang is gone. So you have an illegal alien from El Salvador. Bill, where are we supposed to send the illegal alien from El Salvador?
You haven't even allowed me to ask you a question. Are you convinced he is still a member of MS-13? That was your original charge.
Yes. But here's the thing, Bill. Yes, but here, not only am I convinced of it, not only is El Salvador convinced of it, Bill, he's an illegal alien from El Salvador with the deportation order. So his only options in life, Bill, his only options in life are to be deported to El Salvador or to be deported to some other country. That's it. He has a deportation order. So, Bill, you tell me, what country should we deport him to? Tell me, please. Tell me.
But we heard...
It's that simple. Even Fox. These people are falling over themselves, falling over backwards to defend this guy who's a gangbanger, who's on a list and has been deported. I don't get it. Am I missing something? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe these people are so interior in their brain liberal they can't get it. This story's not going to die. I mean, as far as President Trump and the president of El Salvador, it's over. It's done. Nothing to talk about. This guy is in district court running around trying to say crazy stuff. I don't know. Let's see here. Before I go, I got a message here. Oh, all right. So let me just tell you about this other. Somebody just emailed me as well, and they're talking about the free Trump blanket, which I happen to have right here. This is the Trump blanket. It's huge. Hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah, if you can still hear me. Patriot Addict is back with another exclusive release for you guys. For a limited time only, they're giving away these Trump presidential blankets for free. There it is. It's huge. And it's very, very warm, which we don't need here in Florida. But depending on where you are, you may need it. It's absolutely free, no hidden charges, no recurring fees, none of that. Just cover a small shipping fee by hitting on the QR code right here. You can get yours. The blanket is gorgeous, it is thick, warm, and decked out with patriotic pride. Just imagine wrapping yourself in front of the television with your wife. It's very, very warm. It's nice. Oh, actually, I got it right in the right spot there. It says Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Yep, there we go. So go ahead and get yourself. It's more than just a blanket. It's a bold symbol of America's comeback and real leadership. Patriot Addict is doing this to show your support for Trump in these challenging times and for them to make room in their warehouse for more goodies. We're going to be seeing a lot more goodies from Patriot Addict. But this offer is only available to you guys watching right now. And it's moving fast. Don't wait. Scan the QR code right over here to order your free blanket. Just pay the shipping. Again, that's just go ahead and scan the QR code. I'm just going to hang out with this, and you guys can take a look at it. It's a nice blankie. Nice little blankie. All right, so we're going to see you guys tonight at 7:30. Thanks for tuning in. Love you guys. Mike Patel, thank you very much. Going to get some Bibles out. Going to get the t-shirt site. So while you guys are hanging out for the next 3.5 hours, I still got some work to do. So thank you very much. Talk to you at 7:30.
Bye.